So in this video, we're going to be going over multiplying fractions and why cross-canceling is a good skill to have in math class. Okay, so here we go. We got 2/3 times 4/5. They're both reduced. So one thing that we can do, and one thing that is best for this question here, is just straight up multiply. Now, when we multiply fractions, it's numerator times numerator over denominator times denominator. The two tops, multiply those together and you get 8. And then the bottoms, 3 times 5 is 15. And done. That one's super simple. 8 and 15, there's no number that divides both of those. 8 you can divide by 2s and 4s. 15 you can multiply by or divide by 3s and 5s. So they don't share any divisors, okay? There's no factor that divides into them. So here we go. Now we're going to do 3/4 times 2/5, okay? Now, if we were to do it the same way we did the first one, if we do that one, same way, we would go 3 times 2, and that's going to make 6 over 4 times 5. That's going to make 20. Now, on this one here, we do have a common factor. There's a number that divides both 6 and 20, so we can reduce it, or simplest terms, or factors, okay? So in this case here, they're both even, so I know that I can divide both of them by 2. So you're supposed to do that. Divide by 2 and divide by 2. Okay, 6 divided by 2, that's going to make 3, over 20 divided by 2 makes 10. And that's now in simplest form. Okay, so with fractions, there's basically two things you do with fractions, and the higher up you get in math, you'll see it more often. So if the bottom number divides evenly into the top number, you're actually going to think division. So if this was like a 12 over 3, that one there, we would actually think, since 3 divides 12, we're thinking, oh, I'm going to divide, okay? But if that bottom number, the denominator, doesn't divide into the top number, like on this one here, the 6 and the 20 and the 6, like that one there, 20 doesn't divide evenly into 6, we think reduce, okay? So now here's the cross-canceling and why it's better, okay? Or why it's a good idea to find it, okay? So in this here, first of all, before you multiply fractions, you do want to reduce them, okay? 3 and 4, 3 over 4, already reduced. And then the 2/5, already reduced. So now we look at the diagonals. This is that cross-canceling idea. And we're still removing common factors, okay? So 3 and 5, nothing divides evenly into both 3 and 5. But let's look at the 4 and the 2. Oh, there is a number that divides both 4 and 2, and that's 2. So do that, right? 2 divided by 2 leaves us with a 1. 4 divided by 2 leaves us with a 2. Now that we've done all the canceling we can, now we're ready to do the multiplication. So here we'll do 3 times 1, and then 2 times 5. Now, did we get a different answer? No, we didn't. But here's the difference. The numbers I multiplied this way, after cross-canceling, are smaller than the numbers that I would have had to multiply if I didn't do it first. In other words, I made it easier to do. Okay? And that's part of the trick with math. It's all like, well, I don't like, math is hard. Well, make it easier. And this is one of the ways that you can make operations with fractions easier. Let's look at this last one here. Now, let's say we don't cross-cancel ahead of time. We would end up doing 5 times 3, that's 15, over 12 times 10. And 12 times 10, that's an easy one. It's 12 with a 0 on the end. Okay, now we'd have to reduce. And, well, I see that it ends in a, I got ends in a 5, ends in a 0. So I know I can divide by 5. But this 3-digit number here, that's getting a little bit tricky to do. So let's look at that compared to if we were to cross-cancel first. So here we go. So I already know the 5 and the 12, nothing divides those. That's reduced. Same thing with the 3 and the 10. So now let's look at the diagonals. I got 5 and 10 there. Well, those are both divisible by 5. So do that. Divide by 5 leaves us with a 1. Divide by 10, that leaves us with a 2. Now let's look at the other diagonal. That's going to be 3 and 12. So 3 and 12, both divisible by 3. Divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 leaves us with a 1. 12 divided by 3 leaves us with a 4. Now we can go and do our regular multiplication on fractions, right? So I do 1 times 1, and then 4 times 2 is 8. And that's done. Now, what happened was these numbers here, 1 times 1 and 4 times 2, super easy to do compared to the other ones. Now, the ones that I picked, 5 times 3 is 15. And then 12 times 10 is 120. Those ones aren't too bad, but this one here, the reducing is going to be the tricky part. Okay? So, like, if we did want to do it this way, just to show you the steps, right? Those both end in a 5 and a 0, so I know it's divisible by 5. So now I got to do 15 divided by 5. That one's easy enough. It makes 3. But then I also got to do 120 divided by 5. And that one I don't really have memorized. Like, I'm going to have to actually do a little bit of thinking to figure that out. So I can do, if it were me, I'd be looking at, well, I don't want to do 120 divided by 5, but I know 100 divided by 5 makes 20. And then I have another 20 divided by 5, and that's going to make a 4. So what am I trying to make? This 100 and this 20 here, they've got to make 120. Okay, so now that I've divided 120 divided by 5, that's going to equal 20 and 4 make 24. But this isn't reduced all the way. Still got some more to do. So here we go. 3 and 24. What number divides both of those? Well, 3 does. So divide by 3. So 3 divided by 3, that's going to make 1. And then 24 divided by 3 makes 8. Same answer, but if I multiplied straight away first, it's a little bit more work. Versus if you go ahead and cross cancel ahead of time, you're going to save yourself some work. The other thing you could have noticed too is that the 15 and the 120, you could divide them both by 15, which is a little on the tricky side. So with the 15s, kind of the hack that I do is I don't do, so I'm trying to look at 120 divided by 15. I don't really do 15s. I double it. I do 30s. Because 30s are like 3s with a 0 on the end. So I'm thinking, instead of 3, 6, 9, I'm thinking 30, 60, 90, 120. So 4 30s make 120, but I'm going to have twice as many 15s. So I'm thinking, so in my brain, I'm thinking 120 divided by 30 equals 4. But I'm going to have twice as many because I'm actually dividing by 15. So that's going to leave us with an 8. So that's my thought process there. So now I know, oh, well, I could have done here, could have done divide by 15 and divide by 15. And that would have given us 1 over 120 divided by 15. I have it written right there, makes 8. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways of actually getting the 1/8. Depends on what you already know. But honestly, if you just start out by doing cross canceling first, it makes all the numbers way easier to work with. So if you're looking for, I want to make math easier, it's so complicated, it's all that stuff. Well, it's all like, then start learning those strategies that make math easier to work on. And cross canceling with fractions is one of those strategies. So if you like that, feel free to give it a try and subscribe for more tips.